A very good morning and a warm welcome to the Easter edition of The Dialogue. We send Easter greetings to everyone watching, wherever you're watching from. This is The Dialogue. Every Saturday we sit to look at the big stories of the week, put into context matters of national importance. My name is Prince Apollo, as usual, and we will come back those who joined us in this special service at Canland, the Good Friday service. Welcome back. A long and busy week we've had, and many events played out through the week. We commiserate with those that lost their loved ones. A tragic accident that happened along Masaka-Mbalala Highway around Chinoni. It claimed 9 lives. It has been reported, and sadly, some of those who lost their lives in that accident are actually family members of our workmate here at Salt Media. We commiserate with the family of Eric, Iga, and the bigger family of Salt Media. We are with you in spirit and physically. But of course, we join those who made successes through the week, who registered success, and who are actually watching. Again, I send Easter greetings to our regular panel, Richard Baguma, Tinkasimire, in Addis Ababa. I know that you are watching. Dr. Gerard Wanzara in Namisindwa, I know you're watching, and all our viewers and all those who take time to send in their comments. And you'll do it even today. We'll have that time to look at your comments and the feedback. We treasure your contribution and we are proud of you. On the panel this morning, we have distinguished citizens and people who have been following all those issues we are going to look at. But the big story in this week is the anti-corruption court sending the Minister for Karamoja, Honorable Goreti Kitutu, to Luzira on remand. And Goreti Kitutu is accused of causing loss to government. Let me get it clear here. Is accused of for causing loss of public property, corruption, and conspiracy to defraud government. He was remanded alongside his brother Michael Naboya Kitutu on the same cases, and this is a story that has been running for weeks now in papers and mainstream media. It all goes back to the Karamoja saga or Iron Sheets saga, and Goreti Kitutu is implicated in diverting 14,500 iron sheets intended for the Karamoja Community Empowerment Program to her own benefit and that of third parties. I think that will be the gist of the discussion. The list is long, and from the public court, the court of public opinion, and what has been running in the media ever since Kitutu was remanded, it looks like the public thinks or have an opinion that Kitutu is not alone. That will be the main focus of our discussion. We are asking whether we are now serious about corruption or fighting corruption. What sending Kitutu on remand and the cases, the charges that have been slapped on him really mean to the bigger fight against corruption. That will be our main topic for discussion. Are we really now serious about corruption? What does this particular incident mean to the fight against corruption? My name is Prince Apollo, but before I go, I introduce my guests. We also have a big story across the border. We have been talking about the protests in Kenya and what could be the effects to Uganda being our neighbor and a transit route for our imports and all that. And indeed, the business community in Uganda has been concerned about what has been happening in Kenya. And this week, both politicians on the opposition and in the government agreed to suspend the protests, and the talks are ongoing. And we can also ask ourselves, have the Kenyan politicians again disapproved what we also all thought would happen and have demonstrated mature politics? That is also another issue I will ask my panel to make a comment about. But in the studios, we have a senior citizen, former member of parliament for Rubaga North, and former deputy inspectorate of government, Deputy IGG, Honorable Waswarule. Welcome to the show, and it is a pleasure having you this morning on the dialogue. Speak to our viewers.
Good morning, viewers of Assault TV.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How have you been?
I'm okay. Took a bit of exercise, walked up the hill.
We are pleased to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, Felix Adopa is the president of Transformer Cadres Association, Uganda. He will tell us about it briefly, and he's a member of the NRM, the ruling party. Welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Good morning to all our viewers. Yes, I am the member of the National Resistance Movement, as you earlier mentioned. But not only that, I am the president for Transformer Cadres Association Uganda. It's an association that brings together those who lost in NRM.
Okay.
The last election, 2020, 2021. So where I have former ministers, former members of parliament,
Wow.
Former senior government official who left their job and decided to join politics. So I'm their leader.
A big man you are. And what is the main objective of that association?
The main objective of our association is to give an alternative.
Oh yeah.
And that's why we have been agitating for electoral reforms.
Okay.
I am very happy that the opposition has also picked it up, agitating of the same. The side of the government through Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs is also now coming on board and said, yeah, we need electoral reforms before the next general election. We don't want to see chaos again. Come 2026. We want Uganda that is peaceful. Everybody should conduct the election free and fair. So that is one of our main objectives. Another objective is now fighting corruption.
Oh.
It has been also part of our agenda.
Okay.
We want NRM to be clean.
Within the NRM party?
Yes. We want to clean all these impunities you're saying.
Oh.
So it's part of our agenda.
Okay. All right, thank you, and most welcome to the dialogue. We are pleased to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Beka Baterule is a senior journalist, and he works with Uganda Radio Network. I'm pleased to have you on the show. Once again, welcome, Beka.
Thank you, Apple, for inviting me and for Salt Media to give us this opportunity to, give our views to the people of Uganda, because societies must have direction, and we are part of the people who, shape public opinion. So by providing this platform, we are thankful that you are also contributing to the well-being of Uganda. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're most welcome. Once again, welcome all our viewers to the program. This is The Dialogue, and we kick off the show with what is happening in Kenya. Becca, are Kenyan politicians actually continuing to demonstrate political maturity? What do you make of the decision to suspend the protests and go on a round table and possibly solve their problems?
First of all, I think Kenya finds itself in a peculiar situation whereby you have a government that is in power that barely won the last election. Because the difference between Raila Odinga and William Ruto was 200,000 votes.
It's a slight margin.
Yes, very slight. And there were accusations of tampering with
the servers.
Yes, with the servers and in the process. So you can actually find the 200,000 when if you are very serious about looking for them in the process. So 200,000 votes is too little margin. So you can comfortably say that Ruto is not a majority president because those who voted, it's only 200,000 who the difference between them. But there are also others who didn't vote, probably who don't support him. So a person like that cannot afford to be arrogant. After getting to power, Ruto he had started fishing people from Azimio.
Yeah.
So, and you can't afford to do that. So he has before the election, he used to visit Uganda many times. So he came here and learned some bad manners. So he was on rampage trying to implement some of the bad manners. Because here in Uganda, when you meet the president doesn't meet you for the good of Uganda. He wants to sort you. So that transactional politics is typical of Uganda. So, and Raila Odinga would obviously not afford to allow that happen. Number two, so and also you remember, 4 of the 7 commissioners said the results that were eventually declared by Chebukati did not reflect what they were seeing. So you have more than half of the commission distancing from the election, and you have an election that is very close. So all those combined don't put Ruto in a very firm position. Therefore, he didn't have a lot of choice other than meeting Raila Odinga. But number two, Kenya, unlike Uganda, the Kenyan politicians have vested interests, economic interests in Kenya. And many of those interests are guaranteed by political power. For us, we have politicians who have bought their first car, they have bought their first house, they have married their first women when they are in parliament, when they are ministers. They don't have anything, they don't own anything. If this Kampala bans, you ask these ministers, apart from those who have stolen from us, we will get there when we are discussing corruption. Don't own anything. You get?
Really?
Don't own anything, I am telling you. That's why after 1 year of living, now they become, they will come in his association, and I saw them the other time reaching out to the president. You see, they need financial bailout. Because they don't own anything. But I listened to when Kenya was...
it is partly because Ugandan politicians are poor.
Yes, I listened to the parliamentary appointments committee of Kenya, because for it, unlike Uganda, it is public. I looked at people like Mudavadi. Mudavadi's wealth, which he declared, and I know they under-declare. He declared 4 billion Kenya shillings. That is, you multiply 4 billion by about 38 to get to understand how rich in Uganda. He is more than $1 trillion shilling rich. The least minister, I think I looked at, she was about 88 million worth. 88 million, multiply that by 38 to understand how rich they are. So they have a stake, they own property, they own businesses, they own so many things. Therefore, they have a stake in Kenya, and some of these things are guaranteed by access to
power.
To power. And a person who is 4 billion rich, there is so little you can do to them, you know. But here you have politicians who are politicians. The only motivation they went to politics is because they want to better themselves economically. So that's why they are in politics. So those ones, dealing with them and dealing with the person who is 1 trillion shillings rich is different. So the other one can afford to be on the street for a month. Ugandan politicians, there are very few can afford to be on this on the streets for a month. And the other one is that Kenyans, you have people who have cult following. For example, a man like Raila Odinga has a cult following. It doesn't matter whatever deal he has gone through, I mean, he has done. His people from Nyanza will support him. They are with him. They are stuck with him forever. Therefore, if you have such a group that has a cult following, you know you'll have a problem.
I was also wondering, we had at one point written off Raila Odinga after the elections. We thought it was the last time he's again appearing on the political stage. But when he announced the protests, huge following.
Yes.
And mass land.
No, you should never write off Raila Odinga. And actually, I like him. I wished he had won. But you see, in Tunisia, they have a president. They had a president who was 92 years.
This Kaisi.
Yes, so it will not be the first time
suspended the whole
a leader who is aged. You get so. Raila Odinga is in, was it 77?
79.
79. So he can still be president. President Joe Biden, and you know he's spreading over the world. He's the biggest
he's also
economy.
79.
Yes, he will be 82, and he has said he's going to stand again. So until someone is dead, you cannot write them off. And Raila's support looks like he's rooted, and there is so little you can do to undo it. So when you are dealing with him, if you want to carry out subversive activities against him, be sure he will use the numbers
so
against
the
him.
Ruto government had no option but to sit and talk with the Azimio La Umoja.
Because they were going to make governance very hard for them. Because imagine, I saw Chagua the other time saying Kenya had lost what, 88 billion in one day of the demonstrations. If it had gone on for a month, 2 months, 3 months, the country would be ungovernable. And Kenya, you know, there are many people who are interested in what happens in Kenya because Kenya is East Africa's capital.
Yeah, it's the economic hub.
Yes, BBC has the biggest studio outside Britain. It is in Kenya. All international organization. The other day, even this UN base was going to be transferred away from Entebbe to Nairobi. So when you go to Nairobi, it is a city. It is buzzing. You see all manner of people, international organization. So Kenya is. So there are so many people with interests in Kenya who cannot afford to see Kenya go to frames. So they will always intervene. They will always intervene to ensure that there is sanity in Kenya. Me, I expected it, that it was just a matter of time. This type of man, you understand that politics is more complicated than he thought. Otherwise, politics is the art of reaching out, and Kenya has demonstrated that. Yesterday, a friend of mine and we were looking at a document that was signed in 2007 between the group of Mwai Kibaki and the group of Raila Odinga. The people who are now on the other side were actually the people who are signing on behalf of Raila Odinga. So Martha Karua now, who was on Kibaki's side, is now on Raila Odinga. So Kenyans have no permanent grudge. For when an election is done, next time those who are very bitter with the other group will join you again.
Which is not the case with Ugandan politicians.
But because ours is, we have a predatory system. For them, our politics, the president reaching out doesn't say. He doesn't believe in you surviving. He believes in swallowing you. Here. You can't survive. Yeah, no. Here you can't survive. When you go to talk to the NRM does not allow you to come and remain who you are. When you go, when you are Mau, you have to toe the NRM line. When you are Beatrice Sanja, you become NRM and you become a president of NRM. So for them, it is to take you on and completely swallow you, not to remain as you are. So it becomes very complicated with that kind of setup. But also, I think it is also crucial to understand that if you have a country that is divided by half, where you, who is the leader, there is a clear group that is against you, which is half of the country. And here, of course, NRM will tell you that it has support.
It's a dominant
until it is out of power. That's when you understand that actually it never happens. Because these ones, many people in NRM are just rent seekers. They are in NRM because it is NRM that can provide them the basics of life. So they are rent seekers. The following, let me tell you, if we wake up one morning and NRM is not in NRM, they will not be NRM. If it is not in power, it doesn't own the state, they will not be NRM because we speak to them. There are very few people who believe in NRM who can come and articulate the ideology of the NRM.
But even do Kenyan politicians have a strong belief in political parties? You said they switch sides every time.
No, that is true. But you see, even when they shift our agency, you find that they are still stuck. You see, they will keep on moving away. But the people don't move, unfortunately. Where Raila Odinga moves, he will move with his people.
With his group.
But in Uganda, it is hard to measure whether exactly the NRM is a solid political party or not. Because all the time it has been challenged in court. The courts have unanimously agreed, apart from this last time, that actually the elections in Uganda are neither free nor fair. So it is hard to use the elections to measure whether actually the NRM is strong or it is not, because all the measures have been violated. So they can never give you a clear picture of.
So, but you agree that the Kenyan politicians have demonstrated again that political maturity in agreeing to talk. And resolve their matters on the table.
Because they have something to lose. They have all of them have a stake in Kenya, and you know, Ruto is one of the richest. He calls himself a hustler, but he's one of the richest East Africans. Raila Odinga is one of the richest East Africans. The former president, Kenyatta, he was one of the richest people in East Africa. So they have actual things to lose when Kenya goes to ban. But here in Uganda, our politicians, you don't have people who have anything to lose. They are there for survival, for own survival. Therefore, those ones, it is hard to make. Sometimes it becomes very hard to compromise. I mean, for as long as he doesn't see his personal interest being buttressed, it is hard to get sacrifice. But also, we must understand the nature of Yoweri Museveni, and if we do understand his thinking, because he doesn't believe in the other side, he doesn't believe in the opposition. He said, do you remember in 2011-21, he said, no, 2016, he said, by the time we go to 2021, there will not be opposition in Uganda. So how can you be a leader, a president of a country, and you pride in not having anyone opposing? How can you have unanimity in thinking?
Okay, thank you, Felix. Give us your opinion on what you think about that decision to suspend the protests in Kenya, which had turned actually violent, and they agree to sit on table and resolve their matters through dialogue.
First of all, my friend Becca took 25 minutes alone. Was timing. I know my elder was also timing, giving his own submission. So that is process of democracy. So make sure you accord time democratically.
Okay. I was the best setter.
You see, you know, Ugandans are very funny people.
Really?
We are very funny to an extent. When something happens in Kenya, we comes back here and say that is democracy, it is political maturity. When opposition politician goes for a small retreat in Chamkwanzi, I've heard even now the Honorable Chagulanya will suspend those chairperson LC5
Who went to Chamkwanzi?
who went to Chamkwanzi for NRM for a national retreat because they have not seek for party clearance. And then that one also in Uganda, they will call it yes. What took them there? But when opposition politician in Kenya have issues with somebody in government, here we are going to clap our hands and say it is political maturity. In 2017, there was a coalition group called NASA. NASA was led by Raila Amolo Odinga, Musalia Mudavadi. There was Kalonzo Musyoka. There was those other groups of the opposition. They formed NASA coalition. And they were very sure that they are going to take over the government by then. Unfortunately, NASA did not win.
Yeah, true.
After NASA failed, Raila Amolo Odinga threatened President Uhuru Kenyatta by then that he is going to stage demonstration if his demands are not met. He struggled. Actually, the theory started from Code Coalition. We come to NASA, now Azimio la Umoja. That has been Raila's pattern. In Code, they were with those of Ababu Namama was still in Code, by then the ODM, and in all these coalition, he is a presidential candidate for those coalitions. Raila Amolo Odinga. So he threatened that he's going to stage demonstration and make Uhuru Kenyatta's government having a peaceful, hard night in terms of leadership. William Ruto was against that.
He was
he was
president.
a deputy president, and he told Kenyatta, said, look, democracy means there is somebody who's supposed to oppose you and help you balance and check the government. As having Raila in the government, then definitely we are not having an opposition. So when we are in wrong, who is going to tell us the truth? Because we are also not perfect.
Yeah.
So we need checks and
balances.
As the negotiation was still ongoing, Raila mounted a lot of pressure on Uhuru. Where he went with Miguna and the rest of his...
Which resulted into a handshake.
NASA brigade. And there was a mocking swearing at Uhuru Garden. Raila was sworn in as people's president. And he threatened that since he's a people's president, he's going to be holding people's assembly, county by county. It is what we are seeing today. And Uhuru Kenyatta, since it was his last term, he said, okay, I want to finish this term peacefully.
He gave in to pressure.
He mzee, let me bring him.
Okay.
Na tukae pamoja, we leave this issue of maandamano. And Raila was called. Discussed the number of fleets of cars he will be having, his office how it will be furnished, all the privileges, all the benefits with his people.
Felix, are you suggesting that Raila Odinga is actually pushing for his personal interests?
That is what he has been pushing all along.
Not the interest of Kenyans?
Now,
not the cost of living that is very
there,
high.
Raila Odinga had unchecked, he joined the government. In fact, the last 3 years of Kenyatta's government, there was no opposition. Ruto almost turned to be an opposition.
Yeah, true. All right.
Because Raila's job was now appraising Uhuru Kenyatta. You looked into National Assembly and the Senate. Those one who were pro-Ruto were even removed ruthlessly with positions, in positions. Kipchumba Murkomen was removed as leader of the majority in the Senate. Kimani Chungwa was removed. If you are opposing the unchecked government, by that time, you cannot have peace, both in National Assembly
Felix.
and in the Senate.
Felix, all that withstanding, don't we look at Kenyan politics as more mature than ours here?
Now, you are talking about maturity in politics. Why would Raila go for an election then? If after the end of election, he wants to be in government. Are you aware that the negotiation that is ongoing, people who are talking about the bay of Wonga, the price of Wonga, the price of fuel, the high cost of living, are not sitting in that discussion?
But there are concessions that have been made out of the pressure that Raila and his group have been putting on governments.
No,
some concessions have been
you
made.
see, we need to agree that Ruto took government how many years ago? 6 months ago. Are we together?
Okay.
I have married 6 months. And elders like Honorable start putting me and my wife on pressure that they wish are supposed to see a child.
But things are not going on well.
Then I tell you, you know, we are still in the process, okay, of having a baby. After all, when I got to this marriage, I found you and the other co-wife has eaten almost everything. There is nothing.
So you look at Raila Odinga as being problematic and wanting to cause chaos, and again at last he benefits.
Every government
personally,
Raila Odinga should benefit with his people. He has benefited from Uhuru Kenyatta. He benefited from Moi Kibaki. He benefited from the late President Moi.
True.
Okay? So Raila has never been out of government. That's one thing that people do not understand.
Haven't Kenyans benefited from all that pressure he puts on governments?
No. He puts pressure because he wants to benefit first. He does not put government on pressure because he wants others to benefit. When Ruto took over government, Ogali was at 340 bob. But now Ogali is at 290.
Lower than
Kenya shilling. Lower than. But Raila is still complaining that it is still high. He wants the price of Ogali to come back up to about 150, 180. Are we together? And the government is saying no. When we came, we found that there was nothing in the national treasury. We are trying to rebuild the economy. The fact is that after the pandemic, almost every government.
So, Felix, are you suggesting that the Ruto government? Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that the Ruto government shouldn't have engaged in discussions with?
No, I want to appreciate His Excellency William Ruto for toning down.
Okay.
Because once you are a father, you sometimes you exercise your rights and give people listening time. And I think that is what he has given Raila. I said, okay, Mzee, I think there is some problem. You are talking this and that. Okay, let us come and discuss it.
Okay.
And Ruto, in his own wisdom, I think he is not interested in Mandamano. He's not interested in what Raila will get. He's interested that Kenya should not go back to
but that is the most important thing, I think.
Election.
But that
is
the
avoiding
most
that there should be no Kenyans again taken to ICC. But we should also note that these two groups, they really humiliated Ruto.
Okay, but in the interest of time, Felix, because I'm running out of time. Bate hinted on something that Ruto had somehow copied the bad notes of the government here, and eventually it didn't work in Kenya. Make a comment and
My brother Bate here has never spoken anything good about the government. Yeah. Year in, year out, even he came here driving. He will even said it is bad for government to improve his life.
But
so that
driving doesn't mean the government is. I mean,
I would be actually much better if I was a better man in the country.
But here will not even appreciate the NRM government that is sleeping in his house. He wakes up in the morning, he drives himself, comes to Salt TV, nobody has stopped him, and is peaceful. No, but it does not see that aspect. The only thing that my brother Becca sees here, Museveni should go.
So you think here we are better off than Kenya?
There is no bad manners that William Ruto has copied from NRM.
Are we here better off than Kenya? I mean, the Ugandan, the country is better off than Kenya.
No, Uganda and Kenya are different sovereign states. You cannot compare that. The life standard, the way Kenyans are living is the way Ugandans should be living. Even the way you are living in your house, you cannot compare the way I am living in my house. So before we start comparing Uganda and Kenya, we should look what do we have.
You don't want to believe that politics in Kenya is more mature than the politics in Uganda?
No, the maturity in Kenyan's politics is that when it reaches the time that election is over, sometimes even if there is argument, people comes to consensus for the betterment of service delivery.
And I think that is maturity.
But
maturity
here, when it after the election, the other group does not want even to see this other group. Everybody wants to say, we are living in our own position.
He talked of President Museveni wanting to swallow everyone who wants to talk.
President Museveni has done it better. There is a group called IPOD that came to bring on board all the political organizations.
Honorable Waswa.
Give me a second before you invite Honorable.
I did not.
No, he has moved away from you.
Wind up in 1 minute.
Yes.
Okay,
you
wind
see,
up 1 minute.
all the political organizations were called. NRM accepted. They joined IPOD. Other political organizations accepted. The other opposition group, like NUP, they refused. Declined. So where are you going to talk?
But of course, there is a reason why they declined.
If even now,
but
your member goes to attend a national retreat in Jamkwanzi, and you call them immediately for the...
Give him a second.
Automatically, it becomes a problem.
How can you go and meet a man who just 2 months ago had tear gassed you, had killed 54 of your supporters, the police claim, had stopped you from campaigning anywhere, he had kept you in the house for 3 months. Election in Uganda is no election. So if, for example, that I did never see anywhere where Luto, I mean, where Odinga was tear gassed. And you say, you talk about Odinga, I mean, Luto as though he was not the vice president. He's been the president like everybody. So if you finish an election where a man is bruised, he has 100 and more of his supporters in the court martial. How do you meet him for tea?
Okay, I was Felix, please, because of time. Let's have Honorable Waswa Lule talk about what we are seeing in Kenya. Is it political maturity? What do you make of it?
If you want to talk about political maturity, you have to compare the environment in Kenya to the environment in Uganda. I'm in Uganda North. I have a member of parliament who cannot go and address the people. He can come to the TV, but he cannot go and hold a rally.
Even this week, I think Joyce Bagala in our constituency was trying to mobilize and have and celebrate Women's Day.
Thank you very much.
And they were tear gassed.
They were tear gassed, and yet her opponent, whom she defeated, was holding a meeting. So that comparison, first of all, is a difference. The other aspect, of course, is the one you've brought out, is the aspect of tear gas. In that, when you try to relate to your electorate as an elected member of parliament, you are tear gassed. You are tear gassed. Then what is less seen is that your supporters, they are locked up, they are tortured, others are killed. Even in Kenya, they are talking about the fact that they have not reacted in the way I've been seeing it on social media.
There were only 4 people who died in those protests, I think, including 1 policeman.
Yes, but not as a result of government action, but of interaction.
Yes.
Here, the action of the government leads to the death of individuals, the incarceration of individuals, the torture of individuals. It's standard. That one. So when you talk about democratic credentials, yes, it is also in that the government
There's
did
a
not.
big difference.
The government did not react, as they say in Kenya, and you keep on hearing it. The way the government reacts in Uganda and the way the government reacts in Rwanda, that is a fundamental difference. As to whether or not there is dialogue or not, even in Uganda there is dialogue and attempts at dialogue. How open that dialogue or how sincere that dialogue is a different matter. An example to note is that the example we've talked about of the Minister of Justice, Honorable Norbert Mao. He entered into a dialogue, had been in a dialogue, some sort of secret dialogue with the government for...
It's a cooperation agreement, they signed that.
Which was denied that it ever existed. Now that's the nature of it. It also gives you the nature of dialogue. You sit down with somebody, you make an agreement, he publishes or accepts publicly that this is 90% of at least what we agreed, and you turn around and say we never agreed on anything. Now, even the document that Mao agreed to, that it contains 90% of what they agreed to. If you look at it, it's a humiliating document.
Really?
Yes, it is. Any document that tells you that as a political leader, you will follow what the other side brings on the table, the ruling government brings on the table. Yes.
All the initiatives of the ruling government.
All of them, 100%, right? Which means that you've got to mobilize your troops. And then, in response, they may consider your issues. There's nothing more humiliating.
Is it now what Bate talked about, that when you agree to talk with President Museveni, he wants to swallow you whole? Is it exactly what happened with Mao?
You know, swallowing is one thing. If you're absorbed into the ruling party and you are accepted like any other member of the ruling party, you're better off, because you're in a position whereby there's an issue, you can debate it and give an alternative opinion. Not that you're required to take whatever is put on the table. That is the extent of the humiliation that I'm talking about. And it has to be looked at in that context.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, there are, and I can attest to the fact that, yes, there are attempts to even the mere fact of reaching out to Honorable Mao, I think there was an expectation that there would be a greater number of people who might be jumping on board. And as Mr. Bate said, the whole process is to absorb.
Oh.
Yes. So the absorption is different from a merger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like what actually Raila is pushing
the word is swallowed.
Here he's talking about a unity government. That is what now he's talking about.
Yes, but a unity government where you're talking about power sharing.
Yeah, it is power sharing.
Yeah, not just following the orders. Because if you enter into an agreement that you simply follow orders, people will then begin to ask, what is the benefit that you get? You ask about whether Raila is doing things for his own sake or for
his personal
the people.
interest.
The nature of the relationship between you and the other party determines whether you're working for yourself or for your people. If you accept to everything from the other side, and for you, you only be considered. Then you are suspected of working for yourself or being in a position whereby you are seen to be working for yourself.
So, do you agree with Felix that Laila, in all these initiatives he has and engagements he has had with the ruling government, has in the end pursued his personal interests and indeed benefited?
It depends what you define as his personal interest. If his personal interests are to serve his people, then
have his people benefited? Has the
does he work,
Kenyans benefited?
the point is, does he work towards serving his people, right? So the kind of deal that he makes is what will determine whether he's working to serve. So it's too early to say at this stage. But if you're in a position, you have to understand, politics is about power.
Oh, yeah.
It is about resources.
Yes.
It is how you the distribution.
I think Felix is now picking. Politics is about power.
Power. It's
about resources.
Distribution of resources. How you influence the distribution of resources, not just being in office.
Oh yeah.
There's a difference.
So even if Laila is in office, but his people, all the Kenyans are benefiting, it's his politics. That's how it is.
Precisely. If his people can benefit, then yeah. If he gets an office and an entourage,
yeah, you'll interrogate as I wind up.
If he gets an office and an entourage, right, that is commensurate with the power that he has negotiated, it's not a crime.
It's okay.
Yes, it's okay.
In just one statement, do you agree that Kenyan politicians have somehow demonstrated maturity in this agreement to meet and dialogue?
I would say the government has demonstrated maturity in that they have not responded with tear gas and the like. And that difference, despite the fact that there are casualties, there is collateral damage, but and it is relative maturity, by the way.
Relative maturity.
Yeah, it is relative.
Thank you. In just 1 minute, a comment, and we go for a break, and then we come with a new topic.
What I
Actually,
just wanted to tell you about what Honorable Lule's submission. Yes, politics is about power. Okay, you must have power, and people went to look for that power. You are nominated to go and look for power. Unfortunately, you did not get the mandate of the people. It does not mean that you get power from the back door.
What is the problem in sharing power? What is the problem?
Then we have to sit down before we go even to election and say, let us not disturb these
like
people.
People of you don't believe in sharing power.
It is very unfortunate that when somebody wins election and you start bringing confusion and chaos because you want to have power, it is going to be a bad practice in politics. I really don't like it.
You don't like it?
Somebody has defeated me as a member of parliament. Okay? I have left him.
No, this is a government.
I should not be pushing hard so that I can share the same seat.
Why can't you allow for sharing of power and
not only that, the continuity of the political process. You see, the inference is that at the end of the counting of the ballot boxes and you are declared a winner, somebody should cede power 100%. The fact that you're in the political playground, you exercise political power.
Yeah.
Because you are in government, I should not just give up political power to you, but it is expected of you.
Looks like Felix.
You also flex Marshall a bit.
We're here now. We're here now. And, are we not influencing the course of events? Are we not
but from here, what do you expect in just 1 minute? What do you expect from Kenya? Because he's pushing for inter-government. Do you think the Ruto government will give in and share power?
I'm not sure what will eventually happen, but what I can say is that there will be compromises. Ruto will know that the road he had started trekking is a slippery one. He should change course. There is no way you win and then you begin to cannibalize cannibalize your opponent by taking all his MPs, speaking to his members. You want to leave him alone. That will not happen. So he will understand that that is a separate road. Moving forward, Kenya must take a new direction, not a direction of we will crush you, because that crush you of Chagua will not work. You will find out actually it will be him who will be crushed.
Is that the same?
It's called Regathe Gachagua, not Chagua.
Is that we will crush you the same thing
here?
Oh.
Yeah. But because Ruto used to make a trip
But
to
who
here.
I said he will crush you here.
Oh, you've not had him. You've not had him. We will crush you.
Viewers, we will go for a break. This is the dialogue, and when we return, we look at corruption in Uganda. Are we on the right track, or have we actually realized that it is time to fight corruption by sending Maria Goretti Kitutu to Luzira or not? Let's go. Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue, the Easter edition. We again send Easter greetings to all our viewers out there. And one ardent viewer, Edison, he works with Post Bank Uganda. He sends shorts, and we also send shorts to you. He says he doesn't miss this show. Thank you so much, Edison, from Post Bank Uganda, and many others who are watching. In the studios, we have Bate Baker Baterure, and he is a senior journalist, political commentator, and he works with Uganda Radio Network. We have Felix Adupa, the president of
Adupa Onwech Felix.
Oh, Adupa Onwech Felix. He's the president of CADA, Transformer Cadres Association Uganda. He is a member of the NRM. We have our elder, senior citizen, Honorable Waswarule. And Waswarule is the former member of parliament for Rubaga North, and also former deputy IGG. And the main topic for this morning is corruption in Uganda. Many events have actually happened this week and the other weeks, and it all rotates around the relief items that were meant for Karamoja, but eventually Minister for Karamoja Affairs this week, Maria Goretti Kitutu, happens to be the woman member of parliament for Manafa, was remanded at Luzira. She's still in prison, and we ask, are we now becoming much more serious about corruption? Does taking Kitutu to prison really mean that we are now serious about corruption? The panel will take on that issue. And let me start with the but let me read this comment because it resonates with what we have just concluded. I am Abel Keru. Good morning, Mr. Polo and the panelists. I want to agree with Mr. Felix that however much people like Bate claim that Kenyan politicians practice mature politics, Mr. Bate should not forget that time and again we have seen the opposition in Kenya meet the ruling group. Something in Uganda we think is not negotiating a deal for the betterment of Ugandans. I don't know if you get it. He says for Kenyans, when they meet, the opposition meet the ruling government, they are, you think they are meeting for the betterment of Kenyans. But here in Uganda, it is different. I don't know if I got him right, but you can quickly. But
when Mao now is a minister, of what benefit is he to the larger Ugandan?
Even to his party.
Even to his party.
Because I'm the party.
Yes. Of what benefit is, Joyce Nabosa Sebugwa to the Ugandan?
Oh.
Of what benefit is Mama Mavida to the rest of the Ugandans? So here it is there. You see, in that so-called cooperation agreement, it was written that the Mao, the principal, will become this and this. You get? So you are because if it was
So
for
negotiations
DP,
in Uganda on personal,
yes,
at
if it
personal.
was for DP, they would say DP will get 2 positions. It doesn't matter who feels. But he is in that agreement by name.
Maybe we who go into those negotiations, individuals like Norbert Mao, also go and negotiate on their own behalf and do not negotiate on.
That is the thing. There is no, you see, me, I am not opposed. And actually, I was telling a colleague the other day that probably, because you see countries that have had the problems like we are having now, say Ghana, J. Rawlings did not just walk away like that.
Gentlemen,
there was talking.
will-
So in principle, there is no
possibly-
problem with walking. Even in Kenya, where it has reached, there was talking. Moi was negotiated out of power. Of course, there is
Yeah.
it is okay. The principle is fine. But we are saying the particulars, the general concept is okay. But when you go into the particulars, those
Okay.
are the ones which are
The devil is in
problematic.
the details.
The small print.
Gentlemen, we have to agree that possibly we'll come back and discuss, because this is important. The issue of corruption in Uganda is very important. And Felix, you said that is exactly what one of the objectives in the CADA Transform Association, to root out corruption in the NRM. Thank you so much, Abel Keru and others. And I encourage you viewers, send in your comments and tell us what you think about what is happening. Are we now waking up to the reality that we need to fight corruption this time around? What has happened to Kitutu? Is it now showing signs that we are now more serious about corruption? That is what I need from you. And let me start with you, Bate. What do you make of the arrests, the investigations, and especially sending the minister to Luzira?
They mean nothing, totally. Because there was a time here when they arrested and imprisoned and sent to remand the Honorable Nasam Kutesa. He has been one of the most powerful ministers in Uganda. His son is married to
the president's daughter.
The president's daughter. His former wife, Jennifer, the late Jennifer, is related to the first lady.
No, his daughter is married to the president's son.
Yes. His daughter is married to
Charlotte.
Charlotte. But Charlotte's mother.
Yeah.
Jennifer Kutesa was a cousin to Janet Museveni.
Should we go
he's
into
very
that?
close to the first family. He was sent to Luzira. Did that stop corruption in Uganda? We had a vice president in Uganda in the pecking order. He is number 2. He was still vice president, I think. Was he? He was sent to Luzira. Did that stop corruption here in Uganda?
Dr. Gilbert Kenya?
Yes. So we've had ministers before going to. We had Jim Muhwezi, is now security minister. I really just don't understand the logic in this country. You send a minister to a person who tells you that he's fighting corruption. After people have been taken to Luzira for corruption, the following day they are appointed again in government, in cabinet. You have a minister who pleaded guilty. She was sentenced on her own plea of guilt. She pleaded guilty, and she was sentenced. Her name is called Alice Kaboyo.
Oh.
She's a minister in
Bunyola Affairs.
You get from
Luwero?
Luwero Affairs.
Yeah, Luwero.
You know, she accepted that she misappropriated. She took money that was not meant for her for
Global Fund?
Gavi or Global Fund, one of those.
Yeah.
She's back in government. You have Jim Muhwezi, who was first censured. He was then taken to in the Gavi money. He's back in cabinet.
What does the law say?
So the law will talk about that.
Does it stop from anyone who has been convicted of corruption?
The law is
Yes,
not-
it takes
the law is
about
not-
10 years. You shouldn't serve in public office for 10 years. It does that. But let me tell you, even if it was not for the law, even if you are just suspected, and you have not even pleaded guilty like Kaboyo did, why would the president appoint a person who has a record
Yeah, true.
of corruption? I recently was talking to a friend of mine. She's a Ugandan called Kano Murumba. She's a colonel in the U.S. military, Air Force. She tells you that for you to be admitted in the military, not to government, FBI will look up to you, will investigate you for about 6 months to see that you don't have any record. You did not overtake, you have no
criminal record.
No criminal record whatsoever. You did not abuse traffic rules. You are not. You are paying your rent. Those things that are as person. If they find anything that you ever slept in a house and you do not pay rent, you cannot qualify to enter the U.S. military. But here you have a person who has pleaded guilty, and you are appointing here, me, my minister. So you think we say that old habits die hard. You think she's going to forget her old habits? No.
So sending Kitutu to Luzira does not make any difference in your opinion?
In my view, Uganda, we are corruption is the glue that binds, that brings together the NRM.
Really?
Of course. And I am not saying it alone. When our president, our good president, Joel Kaguta Museveni, went to Rwanda, he told Paul Kagame that me, I work with thieves. Did you hear that? I am not the one saying. He said, me, I work with thieves. Our president was there. You think he was bad-mouthing his people? He was not. And they were there with him. You see, he said, for you, your country has achieved transformation because you work with clean people. But me, I'm working with thieves. The last time I heard from the president, who was in Korolo addressing the nation on PDM, you know why he called parliament? What was the focus of his discussion? Corruption.
Yeah.
He was the last time, before that he was at the Terehe Sita. Every single day our president is talking to the people. He's talking about corruption.
Saying I am going to crush the thieves this time.
My problem with our president, he says one thing and does the total opposite of what he's saying. And sometimes when you hear him, if you have come from, say, Canada, and you land in Uganda, and you tune in to Salt and you hear the president speaking, you say, if they have not told you he's the president, you might think he's the leader of opposition. Because he speaks like he has no power to do anything. He's also appealing the good things. At the other time, we know what he did. And before Corona, he also joined us in walking. We walk to fight corruption. You ask yourself, how can you have the instruments that can kick corruption out of here? And when he was in Colorado to launch because our good IGG, people from Lubaga knows looks like they are clean people. Meticamia, they chose
Meticamia is also from
Lubaga. She was an MP from Lubaga. She said, you see, we have seen corruption is very complicated now. The only way we can fight it is by also being smart.
Lifestyle audit.
Lifestyle audit. When you look at me, my father's house is in Nigeria. You find the entire street is with high-rise building. And you ask, who is the owner of this building? He's a commissioner, he's a VC, he's a minister that, he's a minister that. What business do they do? Nothing. They work for government. And Kabia was saying, you see, that is where the problem is. We should go and see what they own. That's where how we'll catch them. The president said, no, the thieves are going to invest outside Uganda. So when you go begin to audit them. Just 2 weeks ago, the president wrote a letter to Kamia and told her, stop investigating. Our army people should not write to you. You should not, this thing of declaration. You should not, army people should not declare their wealth. How can you, if you are interested in fighting corruption, how can you stop with that? So the last one before
the last one.
Apple. The previous IGG, Irene, had an interview in Monitor. And the headline was screaming, she said, when I chase thieves, they hide behind the president's chair. You can look at it was in Monitor. You see, that was the IGG saying the biggest impediment to fighting corruption in Uganda has been the president, because all the thieves, when you chase them, they hide behind the president's chair. The president did not come out to dispute that. So I think for me, these things you see that Kitutu has been taken in, please, those are just to placate, to give us some. It's like a thief who invades your home and he throws a bone to the dogs, and they get diverted for them to do the actual thing. I think this is
it's a red herring
for us to come here and have a morning to have something to discuss. But whether it is just anything towards the fight of corruption, give me a break.
Thank you so much, and Felix, you will allow me first bring in the former IGG, and it's good you will now handle them together because you represent the ruling government.
I will make a rejoinder.
Oh, okay. It's okay. Because you represent a government which is in power. Honorable,
I'm not going to present government position.
Okay.
I'll present my position.
Thank you so much. It's good you said you want to fight corruption within NRM. That only means that you recognize that there is corruption within even in NRM. The Honorable Waswa, when you saw the minister being taken to Luzira, and what came to your mind?
I'll tell you what I know. And it's what I said when I was still in office. Corruption is licensed.
Say it again.
Corruption is licensed.
Did they hear you?
Corruption is licensed.
Where?
In Uganda. The IGG launched what she called a lifestyle audit. I can describe what it is. I'm an accountant.
Yeah.
It's a review for credibility. It doesn't hold water in courts of law, but it gives you an indication of what's going on. Let's look at individuals who can pass or fail that lifestyle audit without even going outside this room. The other day, the president wrote to my friend Betkami and said, don't look at the
wealth of former officials. But he said the IGG's office should work with the CMI.
Don't worry. I don't have to work. What is different from CMI? They're just Ugandans like me. Why should the IGG not be privy to the information regarding their wealth? Let's start with the president's relatives, who may be covered by that letter. By his own submission, the president one time said that he has a brother, I don't know which brother, who received a bribe. And then he said, he told him that he can go and spend it on some projects in northern Uganda. Now, I don't know why the same privilege was not given to Kazinda. Right?
But the former principal accountant in the OP.
Yes, and other people, and even chicken thieves. Why big people can make those mistakes? You have another relative who's throwing parties, 10 billion shilling parties in every district. Can that one pass a lifestyle audit?
Oh.
Right?
So you insinuate that possibly.
I'm not insinuating, I'm just pointing at specific.
You're saying President Museveni, in directing the IGG not to go direct to the wealth of army generals and those, President Museveni may be protecting some of his close family members from lifestyle.
No, I'm just talking about generals. Whether they are family members, I've just mentioned two generals.
Okay.
There are other generals that probably fall in the same. You mentioned another general in passing before in these conversations we've had today. So you exempt individuals from scrutiny by saying that they are already being scrutinized.
Oh.
Yeah, but even the other people in the government, they're being scrutinized.
True.
So, I mean, why should they be scrutinized by an CMI or whatever, an army unit, which is not independent of the presidency? Yes.
To the army.
Rather than an officer that was set up to be independent. So we have a problem there. You can now identify very clearly who are the individuals who are licensed to act the way they are.
It is the reason why you said corruption in Uganda is licensed.
Yes, I've said it before. Now the truth is coming out. Looking at the Karamoja issue, There's an attempt to steer the issue to Mabati.
Oh.
Mabati, the least significant of the issues. Let's analyze the Karumoja. I'm an auditor, as I said, by profession. How would I look at it? I would do a review for credibility and say, what am I looking at? I'll look at Karamojong, who have been disarmed. Karamojong, who have subsequent to their being disarmed, have been attacked by Turkana from Kenya. And then the army failing to protect them. Karamojong, who then suffered a period of famine. They are then promised kawunga, food. The money is passed in the
39
budget.
billion.
39 billion supplementary. The food, you know, if you want to kill a hungry man, you bring a sumptuous meal, and you just pass it via their noses, right? that kills them. That is one way of killing people. So the kawunga was stolen. We're talking about iron sheets.
The goats were stolen.
I have not finished.
Okay, go right
One
ahead.
thing at a time. I'm analyzing it in depth so that people understand a different take on this issue. It's not about iron sheets. After some of them have died from the hunger, they now die because you are putting food in their face and taking it away, right? They are the ones that survived the attacks of the Turkana. You now go and you count their goats. You say, now, these people, how much wealth do they have? This one has 100 goats, the other one. Let us give them goats. And they have cows. Of the 100 goats that you give them, 80 die.
True.
But when we count 80, we forget that the other 20 that didn't die, that were not sick, you went and bought them back for little money. So the goats that they had, probably 100%, died. Remember, they had livestock. They had cattle and cows. Those ones got the disease from these ones that you delivered.
Oh.
Yes, and they died. But we don't count them because they did not come out of the relief items. They are, by the way. Now, let us look at how easy is it if you went on the open market. I was talking to a vet friend of mine. I said, I want 1,000 goats, but I want 80 of them to be sick.
Oh.
How easy is it to go on the market and find 80 out of 100 goats sick? And the ones of Lugolobi, they are alive, and they have the Mabati. But you didn't use his purchasing Nankani, but you use people, because they use about 8 or 10 different suppliers. But how can you get 8? The statistic, you can go to Makerere Department of Statistics and ask them what is the mathematical probability of having 8 or 10 suppliers, and you get 80% sick animals, right? And then the other 20% you buy them back.
Are you saying it could have been deliberate to take sick goats to Karamoja?
No, you are the one who mentioned it, but I'll tell you what the word for it. If you take the sequence from removing the guns that protect them,
you want them to die.
You want them to die. You promise them food after a famine, and you just pass it via their noses.
You also want them to die.
You take sick goats, right, to kill off the few goats that are
alive.
Right? What do they call that in English? I'm going to say it. It's a pogrom. A pogrom is an organized massacre of people. So when we're talking about, they're saying the minister, they're talking about the minister and Karamoja iron sheets and corruption. Nobody's looking at a possible pogrom. the attempt to subdue, to annihilate
The Karimajongo.
the Karimajongo. And that for me is the worry,
Yeah.
not the iron sheets. Because of all the sequence of events, their guns that protect them, the Kawunga that gives them life, their goats and their cows that give them now life.
Have been taken.
The iron sheets are of no value to a Karimajongo.
So
Except to the
do
individuals.
you agree with with Bate that the Iron Sheet saga is a diversion?
And it is a very convenient tip of an iceberg, because now the Iron Sheet saga reveals some other issues which any serious investigating agency cannot avoid. One, that it is not Karamoja alone. The admission, even by the Prime Minister, I was seeing yesterday on television, is that for her she did not receive iron sheets for Karamoja, but she received from other relief items.
Yeah.
As if when you steal the ones from Luero, they are very different from the ones from the ones from Karamoja.
Yeah.
I saw an MP from the north, Lilian Abba, very naive.
Really?
Yes, on television, and she was on another television even this morning, laughing like a donkey. She was saying she received relief items, right, but not from Karamoja. That's naivety when they send these young people who have got no experience. That's what happens. They make these confessions and they don't understand the severity of the confession. The fact that you received is where the guilt starts.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because in the accounting process, take a president in parliament. They impeached Honorable
Namuga Zapasis.
Betty Amongi.
Okay.
And the impeachment, part of the accusation against her in her indictment was that she left the oversight role and attempted to take on the role of management. Right? So the conflict of the NSS management, the conflict of interest. Now think about it. If you are an MP who has an oversight role of ensuring that these relief items reach
the intended beneficiaries.
And yet you receive them as your personal assets.
That is the big problem.
Right?
That's corruption actually.
There's corruption, but there's also a conflict of interest.
Yeah, true.
And you've set as a parliament a precedent. Right? A precedent for, I'm going further, I'm coming back to your program here, the one you hold on Thursdays. Because this net is much wider than we think.
Oh, yeah.
Because now we have left Karamoja, we're looking at northern Uganda, we're looking at Luero, we're looking at Bududa, we're looking at Kasese, and all those relief items, which one Prime Minister said she has received from others. She even suggested diverting from northern Uganda to Karamoja. You are now looking at the
Honorable Aswa, you are now saying even those politicians who confessed that they received the iron sheets and gave them away, either to schools or what, they should also be implicated in the same way.
How are you going to account that
Kitutu
they gave them
implicated.
to schools? If they gave them to a school, they gave them as themselves.
Oh.
Right? You took the asset and you used it as you saw fit. One decided to roof his animal shed. Another one decided to use it as a political donation, so they get the political benefit.
Okay. Honorable,
I'm going further because I'm saying.
Can you use only 3 minutes?
Yes, I will. About 50 people have so far been implicated. You were here on a program here on, I think you hold it on Friday morning.
Yes.
There was a deputy not the one of Rubaga, I think of Ruengo or what. Yeah. And he said he saw relief items somewhere in Masaka.
Yeah, in Masaka.
You remember it. Now, I'm not saying that the MPs of Masaka, right, received. He saw relief items. Relief items, and Masaka is not included in those, right? So it shows you that these relief items have. It's not just this small number of 50 people. So the 50 people who actually received, all of them, if one of them is not taken, right, to court, and the next step is, if there's political will, is if they have to go before under the political guillotine.
So, Honorable, as I move to Felix, you are saying if there was political will to fight corruption,
Yes.
the whole list of people who were mentioned in this Karamoja saga or scandal should be in Luzira now.
When we're talking about the list, let me tell you where I start when I look at the list. The Minister of Ethics.
She was also in.
Because if the Minister of Ethics is in stealing iron sheets, then it's government policy. Right? That's the ethical standard that has been set. Right? Because you see,
why you
we
say
keep pointing at
corruption in Uganda
prime
is
ministers and whatever, and bringing out the evidence that shows you that corruption is licensed. That it is led by the Minister of Ethics, then the Minister of the government chief whips
Yes.
the party into line.
Okay.
Right? Wow, what further do I need?
Okay. And he says, hello Apollo, I am Narisi Tumwekwase, following from Mobende. Thank you so much. He says, why use Kitutu as sacrifice and leave out others who confessed to have taken iron sheets? Let all be tried. I am Narisi Tumwekwase from Mobende. Thank you so much, and I encourage you right now, viewers who are watching, please send in your comments and tell us what you think about this incident of sending Maria Goretti Kitutu to Luzira. Does it really demonstrate that we are now serious about corruption? What do you make of that decision? Felix, start from there.
First of all,
actually, let me tell them the line to use as you're sending in comments is 0701 609906, and my producer will be help me and run it on the screen, or send only SMSs and WhatsApp messages. Don't call that line. Go right ahead, Felix.
first of all, I would be, if God allows me, I would wish to visit the Honorable Goretti Kitutu in Luzira and have a conversation with her.
Yeah, true.
Over this matter, and also get to know more about this scandal. Fellow Ugandans, I want to agree with my brother Bate and Honorable Lule that the pandemic of corruption in this country is beyond
True.
human expectation. The smells of corruption that we are seeing in this country stings up to the eye heaven. In fact, I think when God sees here, the smells of corruption makes God shy away from helping us. You can see where a minister who has got interest to keep his gods takes a relief item for somebody who is sleeping in Manyata and makes that iron sheet for his God to sleep under. Look at that heart.
The words are better than you.
It's all about seeing, reflection. Reflect somebody sleeping under Manyata. And the iron sheet is meant for that person who is under Manyata. You removed it, put the shade for your own gods. And you have capacity to make it worse. You have capacity to buy iron sheets for your own gods. Look at such a heart we have in this country. where would God forgive us from? Then you have entire executive, the leader of government business, becomes the lion shareholder of the loot, and also walks before camera and tell Ugandans that no, the one I took, it is not for Karamoja, it is for somebody else. Being in possession of a stolen property, actually in our Penal Code Act, you are a thief.
Yeah, true.
Harboring an intention to divert what you know it is not yours is a criminal offense. Conspiracy to defraud is a criminal offense. So me, I want to advise His Excellency the President, my national chairman, it is a time he needs to do an overhaul.
After 38 years.
He should overhaul the entire cabinet. The leader of government business, the hands are dirty. The in charge of finance, where the money came from to procure those iron sheets, is in the thing.
All over them.
Okay? Any serious ministry are involved.
Even ethics.
Now, it means that how many things that the ministers and the politicians has been dividing among themselves without coming out to the public. We are paying tax. The same people who does not pay tax, well, they have got tax waivers. They waive their taxes. The little that we saved and paid taxes is the same they are now looting with impunity. So the executive needs to overhaul.
And Felix, I wonder if this was a coincidence. This week, but and because we are in the media, you know it, a photograph came out of Kalimajong who was starving to bones.
Yes.
I was coming there. Give me some time. Now, look at this scenario whereby people waste a lot of time on things which are open. I see Speaker of Parliament giving a certain committee called Presidential Affairs Committee to investigate the iron sheets, wasting even government fuel, taxpayers to travel up to Karamoja that they are going to investigate. And people who took iron sheets comes out and said, we have taken.
Yeah, but it is a mandate of Parliament to do some audit.
You know, there are things that you need to do it, not for the sake of doing. There
Select
must be
committees.
common sense. Okay?
Let him advise us.
Committee, first of all, the speaker is a suspect. Right?
Yeah.
She sets up a committee.
Okay, maybe
right?
that one.
So, no.
Let him.
She sets up a committee headed by another suspect, I believe.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And then she gives the terms of, she defines the terms of reference and says the people who somebody should carry their own cross, right? And excludes the suspects within Parliament.
Okay.
So, this matter was something very easy. And I want to appreciate, there's somebody that people are not appreciating in all these things. Is the PS to the OPM.
Oh.
Case Mokanizi. He was the first to realize that there is something wrong with these politicians here.
Okay.
Okay? Because he looked at the supply from the Uganda Bati, said, hey, we have received this.
But we hear it is the State House Anti-Corruption Unit
All these
working
batches.
on information from a whistleblower.
No, there was a whistleblower inside office of the Prime Minister that there is a mismanagement of relief items. Go further and what? Investigate. Honorable Mary Goriti Kitutu's brothers, sisters, when they want to buy a shop or you want to go and buy a kilo of meat, they take a piece of iron sheet and sell. It is now packed as a family business.
But that was
Now,
really sad.
what again pains me is that, anyway, sometimes I want to sympathize with the president, but also sometimes I don't want to sympathize with him. Because sometimes it makes our work as NRM mobilizer very difficult. Now, how do you go and talk to people of Karamoja and understand you that this government is good? After the iron sheets were stolen.
So as we wind up, do we now see any benefit, any good, I mean, from sending Maria Goretti Kitutu to Luzira? Are we now doing...
Why do you send Goretti alone?
Okay.
Goretti did not steal this thing alone. Before you even accept something, do you understand the genesis of it? And a prime minister, leader of government business, I am the president, and sits in the cabinet, and we still discuss issues about this country. Yet you are a potential suspect of thieves. Bunches of thieves are sitting in cabinets,
in defense
and
of
cabinet is proceeding without any problem. So Apollo,
now Ugandans are sympathizing with
all
Kitutu.
these people who are mentioned,
in her defense.
if we are going to have a serious fight on corruption, anybody that the name is mentioned in that document, having received the iron sheets, should go to court.
Good.
Secondly, as I summarize,
Okay, summarize in 1 minute.
I want to tell Ugandans that if this device continues the way it is happening now, it is a time we need to do a master action.
What are you talking about now?
No.
Are you joining the opposition?
I am not joining opposition, but we
protest?
must clean. You know, President Museveni has been under siege. He has had so many friends around him. So this one still is a friend, the other one has stolen, is a friend, this other one has stolen.
So your government is rotten.
So we need to help him.
No. Your government is rotten then.
That's why we wake up as Transformer Cadres Association and said we want to help you and clean. We have seen there is a problem.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the same thieves you see in the system,
Honorable,
they will not
I give you 1 minute
to do these things.
1 minute.
Yeah, just in defense of the Minister of Karamoja, the stores where these iron sheets came from are stores of the office of the Prime Minister.
Yeah, in Namav, I think.
Yes, but the ultimate political responsibility for those stores lies in the name, in the office of the what? Prime Minister. Now, I don't, the procedure, you cannot issue iron sheets out just like that with a cheat, as they were said. So, in order for those procedures to be changed, it can only be done with the connivance of the head of that department, who is the Prime Minister.
So you seem to say that even the Prime Minister should have gone first to Luzira before.
But
Kitutu.
who is responsible for those stores? And why are those stores under the office of the Prime Minister? They have been issuing iron sheets. The Luwero iron sheets were shared out here in Mengo Social Center more than 20 years ago from the office of the Prime Minister. The office of the Prime Minister has been doing that for 20 years. So when this audit goes, you know, if they start telling you we'll go back and look back for 2 years, people in Luwero on paper have received benefits.
Apollo,
they have never,
just 1 minute. Apollo, you are a journalist, but here is a journalist. I want you people to do an investigation. All these ministers making noise, those one who have received iron sheets and members of parliament who have received iron sheets, let them take people for fact-finding mission. That I received the iron sheets, it is on top of this public school.
Why?
Okay?
They may not be even be there.
When you receive, the time when you received it is when you stole it.
Are you seeing?
Okay.
Take us to where you have.
Allow me to get these comments out.
Don't give them away.
Allow me to read these comments, and I think they may going specifically to any of you. So please listen. And he thinks, my advice to Kitutu is let her say I was in charge of Karamoja iron sheets, but the one I took was from another region. Is that a difficult statement to make? He asks. Ask Nabanja, okay, I am A. She says, it is Nabanja who should be actually incarcerated. I am DJ Cool in Lila. Thank you so much. You see, people from Lila are also following. Let me hope the iron sheets and goats saga is not covering up our eyes. It could be diversionary, that's what he's saying. And he's Vincent. Thank you, Vincent. And next time, indicate where you're sending in this message from. Sounds like everyone is forgetting the Speaker of Parliament, who acknowledged and returned the iron sheets. Has she been exonerated? Oh my God. You didn't give us your name. Thank you so much. And he says, I am Olebo John Robert from Kumi. The persons involved in the iron sheet saga by now would be in Chitalia, facing what others have faced. Arresting Kitutu alone is just a slap on the face of in Uganda's judiciary.
I think Anita
oh my God.
was
Thank
a
you
bit
so much,
remorseful.
John Robert Alebo. Thank you so much. And she says, hello, Soul TV. Good morning. I am Joram. He is. He's a gentleman. Joram from Chisugu. For me, I don't see the reason why only one person is to be sent to Luzira when others are busy enjoying the iron sheets. Justice should be served. Let's have the order of equity in the country. Thank you so much, Joram from Chisugu. I am Ivan Namanya, watching from Kabungo, Rwanda. Oh, they are watching us from Rwanda. Why hasn't the leader of government business been affected? Has Kitutu, the list of the recipients of this Mabati, been used as a scapegoat and promised to be compensated after all this? Did you hear that? Because this is also possible in Uganda. There is a saying in Luganda that chiso chambuzi chirekamu omusi ne chitunulira omubazi. Thank you so much, Ivan Namanya from Rwanda. Thanks for the show. I am Newton from Butaleja. The issue of corruption is only left to General MK as the president, but for now, President Museveni has failed. He only retains by reshuffle. Did I get that right? Anyway, thank you so much, Newton from Butaleja. He thinks Muhoozi Kainerugaba is the one. Thanks for the program. Let's be honest and mentioned why she did that and told her to divert the iron sheets, which is meant for Karamoja. I am Francis from Hoima City. What is the Prime Minister saying? She should also be sent to Luzira as well. Okay, thank you so much, Francis from Hoima. We only have a few minutes to wind up the show. In just 4 or 5 minutes, we will be closing the show. Let me see the others here. Sorry, sir. He is Isaac Owen from Kamuli. Tell the executive that corruption has gone beyond. So I suggest that let everyone own that should go to Luzira. Have a nice day. And he is Isaac Owen. Thank you so much. Corruption, the 11th point program. Why? Look at rats for COVID-19 tests. The goats that were bought, a radio equipment now for current minister in health. The worst thing the president can say that these people do these things with impunity. Really, Charles in Kisasi. I think some messages I get problem reading them. I'm Dr. Solomon from Akokoro. Apache
Akokoro is in Apache district.
This is a sign of a collapsing government. Please, these people have. Okay. Thank you so much, Solomon. I cannot read that word. You are very bitter. Good morning, Uganda. Thanks for the show. To me, all the culprits should be taken to court, including the Prime Minister, Vice President, the Speaker of Parliament. Thanks so much. My name is Philip from Nakawa. Gentlemen and ladies, my time is up. The messages are very many here. I cannot really read them out all. I'm sorry, we have only 4 minutes.
It's enough.
They're enough.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Let me start with the senior citizen.
Orphans of Luweero Triangle is a program that is situated 6 kilometers from Mbarara City. 6 kilometers from Mbarara City.
Mbarara City?
Mbarara
A
City.
Luweero program.
Orphans of Luweero program.
Mbarara, which is not in Luweero.
Which
That
is
is
not
where
in-
the program is connected from.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? Now you are talking about a few iron sheets. This is a whole program that is hijacked. I don't know who the beneficiaries are. I've been there before, but they didn't look like the indigenes of Luweero.
Oh.
And that was in 1990 something when I went there. So that's a whole program, right? And there was no corresponding a migration from Luweero to
Mbarara.
Mbarara. I leave that to the people to make their judgment.
So in just one response, are we serious about corruption in Uganda?
I'm saying it's been going on for a long time. This program I'm talking about, I went there in 1994-5.
That is more than 20 years ago.
Yes, and the program, and they're still getting money from the budget. Over 100 million pounds sterling has been put in that project.
Felix,
Yes.
1 minute.
To me, if the executive fails to do what it is supposed to do, as Transformer Cadres Association, we shall wake up. The youth within NRM, people within NRM, will be fighting for this right. I felt so sad to see somebody's goat sleeping under iron sheets and somebody sleeping in Manyata. That thing I have not gotten out.
You want to
of
start a
that
revolution within the NRM?
If it is, that is the only method, because they go and tell Muse, you know, we are the one who makes you comes back, we are the one who has given you this power.
And you
We
forget
should-
that there is a lot of tear gas
It's
and
okay.
new equipment
It's
has been
okay.
bought by
New
police.
equipment has been bought, but in every freedom there are always victims of freedoms. And I want to say that let those who know their names are implicated in this thing go to jail. Somebody talked about Right Honorable Anita Mong. To me, I think the conscience, she was a bit remorseful. She took 300 and bought 500. After realizing that,
Yeah.
what I
Maybe
took
some
is
of these
wrong.
people may be innocent.
I
We don't know.
think
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
To me, if on humanitarian ground, Apollo, on humanitarian ground,
Investigations are still going on.
she's
I
a bit
think.
remorseful. Okay? Somebody who acknowledged a mistake and said, it is what I supposed not to take. Take it back.
Can we think that just by taking Kitutu to Luzira, she is the last person to go to Luzira, or possibly we may see other people follow her?
We want to see other people following up. If it is only Kitutu, then fighting corruption, we should forget about it until this term of the office expired, and maybe we look at another alternative in 2026. But for now, I am telling you, sending Kitutu alone, we Ugandans, we want to sympathize with Kitutu.
The former IGG said, this is just a small thing. There is a deliberate move to inherit the Karamojong.
I don't want to go in that direction, but let me say this. Even the idea that government has to buy goats, has to buy iron sheets. What kind of assessment? When they went there in the needs assessment, were the iron sheets the most pressing issues of the Karamojong? Even the goats, you would ask, you take a goat from Mubende, you take it to Karamoja where it is shining.
Where should they
it's
get
very
them
hot.
from?
But even within Karamoja, they are goats. But let me say this.
Say it, because you have only 1 minute.
I think Felix and people who believe like him in the NRM should do themselves a favor by moving out of the NRM, or by starting the revolution already. They should start the revolution already, because asking the NRM, the current NRM headed by OM7 to fight corruption is akin to doing the impossible, because you see where they have reached It is corruption that defines them. That is the glue that binds them together. The reason that brings them together is corruption. So by you saying that they can fight corruption, you are telling them they shouldn't exist, and that will not happen. And the final point I want to make. He's also sympathetic to the Speaker of Parliament. Let her have her day in court. It's even that you can plead. I mean, when they are sentencing you in court, you say, for me, I am remorseful. You can go and plead. When we go to court, me and you, and me, I plead guilty in court that I am guilty as charged. Actually, my sentence is less because you have not wasted court's time. Let all of them go to court and let court pronounce that because you are remorseful, you did not, you even returned without asking. Okay, we sentence you to a serious caution. But for us to say that they shouldn't go, everybody who was implicated, if the president is serious about fighting corruption, unfortunately he is not. All this, the entire group that touched, even with those touched with the graphs, all of them should pay for a price. If it is not, unfortunately,
I had the Prime Minister urging all those who benefited to take back,
starting with herself. Starting with herself. I like the Prime Minister, by the way. She strikes me as a person who has some heart for the people. But unfortunately, Prime Minister, we have had you for such a small period of time. Because all of you, everybody, the president should demonstrate that he's serious.
And we will return next Saturday. I must thank